Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tablelands Regional Council Ordinary Council meeting for September. Could I remind everyone to just turn their devices off or onto silent, please? Do we have apologies? Could I just ask everyone to be upstanding, thanks? I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land that we meet on today and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging. And now we'll observe a minute's silence as a mark of respect for the members of our community who have recently passed. We wish their family and friends peace and comfort during this challenging time. Thank you. Item 6, councillors. Declarations of any material personal interests / conflicts of interest by councillors or senior officers. Councillor Cardew.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, I want to declare an interest in item 11.1. I advise I have a declarable conflict of interest in agenda item 11.1 for the September 24 Ordinary Council meeting. The owner of the applicant and owner of this application is my wife's cousin, and as a result, I will leave the meeting and not take part in any discussion or vote.
Thanks, Councillor Cardew. Councillor Spanos.
Thank you, Mayor. I need to declare a conflict of interest also. Agenda item number 11.3, a Floriense conversion application. As I am still employed at the All Wheel Drive Centre, Cole Motor Group, and this is this conversion application, I'll take my leave on that.
Thanks, Councillor Spanos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a conflict of interest in that same matter. I'm a director of Reinhardt and Associates. Reinhardt and Associates has undertaken work for the Cole Auto Group. Cole Auto Group own land adjoining the land the subject of this application, and future development of that land may be impacted by the decision in relation to this application. So I'll also be leaving the meeting while the matter is considered.
Thank you. Councillor Bilney.
Through the Chair, there are 2 items on today's agenda for which I would like to make a comment on. Firstly, item 11.2 in relation to Donna Cifuentes and the negotiated decision notice request. I am a board member of ECHO and Donna is an employee of ECHO. I don't have any close relationship or contact with Donna, and therefore I don't believe that gives rise to a declarable conflict of interest. For the purpose of openness and transparency, I would like to ask councillors to decide by passing a resolution to allow participation. I will remove myself from the room whilst the discussion and vote is taken. And secondly, I would like to make a comment about item 12.1 in relation to the Patrick English Pavilion. As a result of an allegation made against myself, I self-referred to the Office of the Independent Assessor to investigate those allegations. Today, the matter remains outstanding, and advice provided to me confirms that this pending matter does not give rise to a conflict of interest. I raised the matter again in good faith of openness and transparency. I will be participating in the discussion and vote on this matter.
Thanks, Councillor Bilney. We might go back to Councillor Bilney's first item. item 11.2. So I might ask you to leave now, Councillor Billy, we'll decide that one now. So councillors, Councillor Bilney has asked us to make a determination on whether he has a conflict on item 11.2. Councillors, any views from this? Councillor Cardew?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I don't believe there's any conflict. The applicant is an employee, and they have no association with one another, so I'm happy for Councillor Billy to remain in the room for the discussion and the vote, and I'll move that.
Yeah, is there an alternative view to Councillor Cardew's, councillors? Okay, so Councillor Cardew is moving that Councillor Bilney can participate in the meeting during that time, during that item, and Councillor Vardy was seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Yeah, someone can grab Councillor Bilney, thanks. Yeah, the decision of Councillor Bilney is that you can actually stay in the room for that item 11.2. Item 7, confirmation of minutes. Councillors, can we have a mover and seconder that the minutes of the 22nd of August be received and accepted as a true and accurate record? Councillor Spanos is moving. I'll move. And Councillor Vardy is seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Item 8, business arising actions from the minutes. Did we have any recorded? There were no recorded. So councillors, are there any business arising from the floor from those minutes of the 22nd of August? No? Okay, thank you. Brings us to item 9.1, councillors. The petition to save the Patrick English Pavilion. So we have that petition here. I received that some weeks ago, but we can formally receive it this morning. So I'll move that council receive the petition entitled "Save the Patrick English Pavilion Petition." Can we have a seconder for that? Councillor Lang is seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Item 9.2, the Mount Garnet Pool, that council received the petition entitled Mount Garnet Town Pool. I also have that petition here. So I'll move that we receive that. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Hayden. So we've got a mover and seconder. Those in favour of receiving the Mount Garnet Town Pool petition? Carried. Thank you. Okay, councillors. I'd like to move now that we set aside the standing orders and bring item 12.1, which is the Patrick English Pavilion Melander, we bring 12.1 forward to be our first agenda item. So I'm happy to move that, councillors, if I can have a seconder. Councillor Bilney is seconding that. Those in favour? Carried, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If you seek your leave to make a short statement in relation to an article that appeared in last week's Express.
Would you like us to move the motion, please?
If you want to move the motion, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, look, I think we will have a so that brings us to our first item of business today, which will be 12.1, and the Patrick English Pavilion, Malanda. Can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Bilney is moved. Do we have a seconder?
Moving to open for discussion rather than making a recommendation.
Moving the recommendation. So moving the recommendation, Councillor Bilney, seconded Councillor Cardew. Councillor Bilney.
The Patrick English Pavilion stands as a reflection of history and must be remembered that any legacy is built on a strong foundation. In the case of the Patrick English Pavilion, you cannot build on broken. I note that the pavilion was relocated to Malanda in the late 1940s as a temporary community facility. I have been told that the structure's integrity was a cause of concern a long time ago, and in the mid-60s by the Malanda Show at that time, the Malanda Show Society at that time. Here we are some 60 years later, still discussing structural concerns of the pavilion. Essentially, it has served our community in many ways well past its original intended life, and Council is now tasked with making a decision about how we move forwards. Past generations have had the opportunity to enjoy the amenities that the pavilion provided over an extended period, and that time has come, and now the time has come for Council to ensure that our future generations are also afforded a similar opportunity. The closure of the pavilion has understandably created some angst within certain sections of the community, as there is an emotional attachment to the building. I have found it increasingly difficult to deal with this issue and have been individually targeted by some who have been spreading misinformation, and more concerning is the disinformation being alleged. I note also that these attacks have not solely been targeted at myself, but at individual officers, which include the CEO and the organisation in general. I would like to acknowledge that those who have provided support during this process and raise my concerns that some in the community felt that could not have their say in fear of retribution, particularly on social media. I will be investigating my rights in relation to comments made by some. It is true that in late 2019, early 2020, there were discussions commenced for a multi-purpose facility to be placed in Malanda. This acknowledged the fact that the pavilion was nearing end of life and that substantial capital investment would be required to extend its use into the future. At this point, a budget of around $2 million was forecast. However, the full scoping of what a facility may look like was still being developed based upon those discussions which I mentioned earlier. A report did come to Council in December 2020, advising of the engagement outcome recommendations and providing a concept design. Over the past few years, the budget for the multi-purpose facility project has been deferred to outer years and now sits in the 27-28 and 28-29 capital plan years. Obviously, with the current issues now evident, funding will need to be reconsidered and brought forward, whatever decision is made. Over the past 3 to 4 months, it has been a challenge for some in our community to accept the latest independent structural engineering report that essentially highlights that repair of the structure is not an option. Whatever council decides, it needs to be understood and accepted that the pavilion will need to be deconstructed prior to any further construction. Council has been reasonably responsible in managing expenditure on what is an end-of-life asset, maintaining the pavilion to a safe standard as required under legislation. Council has also in excess of 330 assets which require ongoing maintenance and a certain level of capital investment. However, the challenge for council is determining the priorities and making decisions in the best interests of the whole community. To my knowledge, no councillors, past or present, have been provided with any reports from external engineers stating what the condition of the pavilion or indeed any other council facility was. The only time they were cited were when these reports were made publicly available on the TRC website. The former council from 2020 to 2024 were made aware of the condition of the pavilion during our initial induction, and as disclosed in the report that came to council at the ordinary council meeting in December 2020. It was reported in the Mareeba Express last week that I was briefed in July 2023 about the condition of the pavilion. I was provided with updates from the project manager at the time in relation to the multi-purpose project, and I was included in a communication sent to all groups that regularly use the facility, which essentially confirmed that the building was continuing to deteriorate as expected. Some have chosen to suggest that I was provided with the full report and that I have deliberately withheld information. I absolutely refute that claim that I was briefed in any detail about the condition of the building. This will also be subject to future consideration of actions available to me. In summary, we are where we are and we must work towards the vision of what a future community facility could look like. It will need to meet the needs of a growing community and the generations to come. It is my strong view that we should respect the past history and reflect that in any future facility design where repurposing of components is considered, bringing the past into the future. I will also advocate strongly for disaster resilience to be incorporated, which may also open up grant funding opportunities. Whilst the condition of the pavilion has been a problem for a long time, it now presents itself as an opportunity for council to work with the community to develop a scope of what a true fit-for-purpose facility looks like and what it can deliver. I will continue to work towards a multi-purpose facility, which I believe is supported by the vast majority of the community, and I will be supporting the officer's recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Billing. Councillors, who'd like to go next? Councillor Cardew.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I just want to make a few general comments. This has been a contentious issue, and unfortunately, it may or may not could have been handled better. I'm not sure, but we are where we are. It is what it is. The engineering reports says that it's unfeasible, not feasible to repair it. So we can only work on what we have in front of us. I will say this, but the demolition of the igloo, if that's what gets approved today, we just need to be sure that it doesn't include the cafeteria area, which I don't think it does in the report. The cafeteria area and the function room and the toilets and the things need to be maintained to a usable standard, so that the Show Society has somewhere to work out of, somewhere they can operate out of. So that needs to, I just need to make that clear on the public record. The other thing is that we need to ensure that when we start public consultation for a new facility, that we initiate some sort of steering committee or advisory committee or the like where all stakeholders will have input into what the new design and concept may look like. Keeping in mind that the Shade Society will be a strong voice on that committee. The other thing I want to make sure that happens in the deconstruction of the igloo is that the Shade Society has lots and lots of material, goods, whatever, still in that building that they haven't been able to get out. And we need to ensure that the Shade Society gets the opportunity to retrieve all their belongings. Going a little bit further to what Councillor Bilney said about trying to incorporate some sort of amenity or an asset or an aesthetic look to what we have to the new. Yeah, sure, that can all be done in the design phase, and a steering committee would be that'd be one of the things that a steering committee could address. There is in the part of the resolution there to say that we will salvage materials where we can to incorporate in a new look building. So there was some comment made to me about a timber floor for a dance floor and that sort of thing. So I don't see why that can't happen. So, and it's already in the resolution. So just for the public record, I just want to make those comments, just to, if there are any uncertainties out there, just to put those to rest with regards to what I've just said. So thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Cardew. Councillor Vardy?
Sure, my question is in relation to the officer's recommendation, item number 3, the options analysis. I'd just like to know what that looks like, what that entails. With our survey result, there's 280 responders from the petition. There's 1,709 from within our TRC LGA, and I just want to know that that option analysis is going to address their concerns as well. And
that's the intention, would be to have further community consultation and develop some options around that for council to consider, obviously in consultation with the community, Councillor Vardy, about the look of the building, the uses of the building. We've never explored that in any detail, to my knowledge. I'd just also like to add to that, if I might, that we have been, in what we've been doing to date, we've been guided by the decision taken by council in December 2020 to work towards a multi-purpose facility, but as funding, the major expenditure has moved back. We have also deferred, I suppose, progressing detailed design and consultations. We haven't had a capital budget. That needs to obviously be reviewed. But we will be looking at the uses that could take place in a multi-purpose facility, and certainly what that facility might look like.
Councillor Spanos?
Yeah, guys, I'd like to echo Councillor Bilney and Councillor Cardew's views on this. I think we could look at this as a positive, to be honest with you. I really think that a multi-purpose building at Malanda that would encourage all of the tablelands to be this could be something that could be very, very great for the township of Malanda, and it could offer a lot of amenities that where else we would not have. So I believe it's a positive, I really do. As much as I hate to see old buildings be removed, I don't like to see that myself, and I'm echoing what they just said. I would like to think that the character of the building is reproduced in the new building somehow. However, I think we need to look at this as more of a positive thing than negatively, and this is what we're doing. I think we really need to look at it positively, and that's all I can suggest. I echo their views. I think it's the comments that have been made are very positive, and I think that's what we should be looking at.
Thanks, Councillor Spanos.
I just want to say, like with Kev, the Shade Society does need to get everything out, because it is an expensive collection in there, so, yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Lane. Councillor Hayden?
No, fine, I've heard what everyone said, it's fine.
Might go to you, CEO.
Mr. I think anything I had to say has been covered off. I just want to say that officers have been acting in good faith and in accordance with the decision of council in 2020. And I have full confidence in the way that it has been managed and will be managed going forward.
Very good, thank you. I'll just say a few words, councillors, and I'll go back for Councillor Billney if he has any final call. Councillors, Malanda can still have the Patrick English Pavilion, it just has to be a new one that can serve the community for many decades, just as this one has. The independent structural engineer's report of the pavilion makes it clear the building, and in particular its structural integrity, is now end of life. So the time for repairs, reinstating and restoration is behind us. Further, the report states that the first step to move forward is for the building to be deconstructed, as repairing and refurbishing the current structure is not a viable option. Again, structurally, it's fully spent. I see that some 2,000 people have signed a petition signalling their strong interest in or attachment to the pavilion. However, from the petition, we don't know what petitioners' second preference is, and this is where the only real options available to council reside. This council will commit to working closely with the Malanda Show Society and indeed with the Malanda community to advise on and reflect the history and origins of the Patrick English Pavilion. Like Councillor Billney has stated, the opportunity is here for the community and council to work on a new Patrick English Pavilion, one that will serve the Malanda community well into the future. I'll cast my vote for the future and support the officer's recommendation. Councillor Billney, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, I think I've sort of covered off what I wanted to say. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Okay, councillors, those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Carried. Could I have I'll move that we resume to our standing orders. Could I have a seconder to bring us back to our regular agenda program? Councillor Lang, thank you. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. Councillors, I forgot to mention earlier, at about 10 o'clock this morning, we'll be breaking for our garden competition. So we'll just keep moving along, and we'll try and break so that we're on schedule at 10 o'clock for that garden competition, and we'll have morning tea with those winners of those awards. All right, having returned back to the agenda, that brings us to item 11.1. Thanks, Councillor Cardew. Item 11.1, Kabuka Proprietary Limited, material change of use for nature-based tourism, food and drink outlet and microbrewery, lots 0 and 1 on SP 227850 and lots 1 to 6 and 10 on SP 227854 70 Hunt Road, Pyrmont, MCU 24/007.
Be ashamed of yourselves.
You know what, we employ you to look after us, and you don't give a toss what we think. You think you know what we should have. You're so wrong. You're so wrong. What a shame. What an embarrassment.
That was Newton's paper.
Can I add to that too, Rod?
Look,
Being an old deaf man, what the hell happened just then?
so look, what I'll do is I'll adjourn the meeting. We'll adjourn the meeting. Move it to reconvene the meeting. Thanks. Councillor Lang is moving, and Councillor Spanos. We'll resume the meeting. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Excuse me, I'll just take these notes, councillors. Okay, that brings us to 11.1. We just opened up 11.1 for discussion. Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty. Moving. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Spanos. Councillor Barty.
Yeah, so, I support this application. I just have a couple of questions, if I may. In the traffic report, Sean, where they show on the corner of Pyramid Road and Hunt Road, there's the tree cover there. I just wonder how that's being addressed for visibility issues.
Through the chair, happy to address the question. So yes, the traffic impacts assessment identifies that there are existing vegetation which impact sightlines. The traffic impacts assessment suggests that those trees be removed as part of the roadworks that are required by the condition of the approval. And it is anticipated that that will be addressed through the operational works application that will be required for those external roadworks.
Okay, so the applicant has to.
Correct,
Is
yes,
that correct?
yes,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, and I just have some questions, regarding the submitter's letter on page 58. They raise a couple of issues about the Gillies Highway and the Pyramid Road intersection. They'd like the TAC to look at that. So Mark, I was wondering if that can be added to the next TAC agenda to have a look at that intersection.
Yeah.
Is that okay? And also, Mark, does the star rating of Hunt Road change in relation to this development with
through the chair, we would have to assess that once the development is actually occurred.
Approved?
If the use is actually not established yet, there is no change to use of the road, and so traffic count and things like that. So the use of the road would actually change once the actual development is implemented and in place, and we would then look at potential changes. I can't foreshadow if that would actually change the star rating, because it all bases predominantly on vehicle traffic numbers, because the other criteria wouldn't necessarily change too much, except for maybe the tourism score on the use criteria. But we don't know at this point in time until we actually do that assessment if that tips it into the next star rating.
The submitter's question was in relation to like extra traffic being on that road, would there be more maintenance? And that was sort of what I was asking the question.
It's really hard to say, because traffic is not the only consideration for maintenance, really, especially with dirt roads. There could be multiple impacts that affect the maintenance requirement on the dirt road and how much material we lose on an average year. So again, we would have to just consider that once that use is in place and manage that again.
And Sean, just in relation to the adjoining properties, and they have some concern about noise, light and privacy, is there any scope for a tree planting there if they choose to, or is that?
So visual impact amenity,
Yeah.
sorry, I'll broadly say through the chair. Amenity impacts have been considered.
Yep.
The report states that the siding and design of the building has been done such to minimise those impacts.
Yeah.
Also, the officer's recommendation states there is a separation between the proposal versus any adjacent landowners, and that is at such a difference, greater than 300 metres in some instances, that any visual impact or privacy or amenity impacts won't be that significant surrounding properties. We would generally require a vegetated buffer, for instance, where the development abuts a rural or a sensitive land use in adjoining property. One hasn't been imposed here, given that separation distance, and there is part of that land that will still be used for agricultural practices. So in officer's position, it wasn't warranted.
Okay, all right, thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Councillor Barty. Councillor Billman.
Excuse me, through the chair. Look, I've just got a general comment that I think it's a great example of landowners having the courage to invest in the tablelands. It's an accommodation type that is strongly patronised. Additional 13 cabins does add value to what's available on the tablelands. I think also the inclusion of a micro brewery is something that supports tourism and economic development. Just another reason to come up to the tablelands and visit. I think it's great.
Yeah. Councillor Spanos?
Just had a question for Sean. Yeah. Sean, just the entry of Perman Road into Hunt Road, is that going to be changed at all? There is some changes happening over those.
Through the chair, yes. So the conditions of approval require upgrades to that intersection. So there's additional sealing and signage required, plus the vegetation clearing that we've just mentioned.
Okay, I was just concerned about entering.
Subsequent approval. Yes, exactly that. It recognises that increased patronage, increased traffic.
It's not a slip lane or anything like that though, is it? It's just a better. Okay, no, that's all my question was, was there be more traffic at that intersection, obviously. So, yeah, okay, thank you.
Councillors? Those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Carried. 6,
He was there.
That brings us to item 11.2. Donna L. Cifuentes, negotiated decision notice request reconfiguring a lot 1 into 2 lots, lot 1 RP 808 185 and lot 2 RP 808 185-31 and 31L, Topaz Road, Malanda, RAK 24/0014. Do I have a Councillor Cardew?
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move an alternative motion to the officer's recommendation. Yeah.
Councillor Cardew is proposing an alternative motion. We can't really get a seconder until we see what that motion is.
I'll read it out if you like.
You have a copy of it, Jackie? You do, yeah.
It's up on the screen. Should be up on the screen.
Yeah, if you'd like to read it, Councillor Cardew, when it's up.
Thank you. Prior to council endorsing the survey plan, a bitumen, asphalt or concrete sealed and dust-free driveway is to be constructed from the edge of the sealed vehicle crossover on Topaz Road on lot 2 through to the full length of the access handle in the proposed lot 2. The driveway will also have a minimum formation of 3 metres and be formed in a way, in one-way crosswalk to cater for stormwater drainage such that any stormwater runoff is contained within the access strip and be to the satisfaction of council's delegated officer.
So Councillor Cardew's got an alternative motion on the screen there. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lang is seconding. Councillor Lang, would you like to talk?
No, I think that's quite reasonable.
Yeah, so Councillor, I should have asked Councillor Cardew if you'd like to talk first.
Thanks, Mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I understand the purpose of the conditions of these sorts of development applications, and one of the main reasons is to mitigate dust when you're creating these sorts of 2-lot subdivisions. But for the condition to particularly specify either an asphalt or a full concrete driveway is very onerous, very expensive, given that the length of this driveway is some 150 metres long. So in today's modern world, there are lots of other alternatives out there that can achieve the same thing. There's pavers that you can put down that allows grass to grow through them and you can still drive over them and not create any dust. So that's just one alternative. So there's lots and lots of alternatives out there that are cheaper than the ones that are specified in the report. So, and I understand that it may or may not set a precedence, but the outcome is to mitigate dust in this particular circumstance. So all I'm asking is that we allow or afford the applicant the opportunity to investigate alternative methods to achieve a dust-free outcome. Thanks.
Councillors? Councillor Barty?
Sure, my question for you. So the condition of having the concrete driveway, is that part of that's our planning scheme that requires that?
Through the chair, yes, that is a requirement of the plan scheme for development within this locality and similar developments within this locality, yes.
And other people who have applied to, or they have accepted that condition?
Yes.
Yes, all right.
So if I could just make an additional comment through the chair. So obviously officers considered that the requirement that has been imposed by the condition is the appropriate standard for development in this locality and other similar localities. The standard of access that is being requested through the change is more suited to a rural setting. The purpose of the requirement and the standard to which we are asking it ensures a high level of amenity that isn't a rural level of amenity. It's a rural residential of amenity. And as the councillor has pointed out, it is a standard that we have commonly applied across similar development within the region and is commonly accepted as the standard through that process. And therefore officers recommend that it be retained.
Thank you. Councillors? No one else? Any comments or questions? Look, I've got some problems with this one, councillors. I mean, I think it does open up a bit of a hornet's nest for us, because a number of these approvals have already gone through, and people have you know, the applicants have accepted the council's decision, and now we're saying this one's a special case, and those decisions in the past, you know, are still there for those previous applicants. So, I you know, it's not showing consistency, and it makes it hard for our officers to deal with these things. So I've got reservations about it, councillors, but does anyone else wish to talk?
Can I just have a point?
Councillor Cardew.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, I accept all those comments, Mr. Mayor, and all I'm saying is that I don't want to see a reduction in the condition. We have to mitigate dust on these developments, and that's a given. And we have to have a standard, that's a given. All I'm trying to say is that there are alternative ways to achieve this that aren't as costly as the two options that are in the report. So there's lots of other options out there. I don't want to diminish it in any way. And the fact that yes, we have conditioned previous applications along the same lines, but until you change something, nothing changes. You know, and if we can change for the better for the future, then that's an opportunity to do that. I don't want to. The intent of this is not to diminish or take away anything from the conditions in the report, from the overall outcome trying to be achieved. It's just allowing the applicant to do it in a different way than what's specified. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, councillors, we've got a mover and a seconder of Councillor Cardew's alternative recommendation. Those in favour? That's carried. 5-2. Jackie.
Who was the second one?
Councillor Barty.
No, I was a second.
Oh,
The other person in
Against
opposition.
the motion.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
okay, councillors, that brings us to item 11. Oh, hang on. All right. 11.3 is A Floriense conversion application lot 901 SP 245606 Kennedy Highway, Atherton. Yeah, we've got the CEO and Councillor Spanos will be leaving the room. Okay. Can we have a mover and seconder for item 11.3, councillors? Councillor Lang is moving. And a seconder. Councillor Cardew. Councillor Lang?
By approving this trunk infrastructure application, we have now the opportunity to address the pressing safety concerns of Menke Road. So I fully support this application.
Thank you. Councillor Cardew?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yes, to go along with what Councillor Lang has said, this is going to give us an opportunity to deal with Menke Road. It's not only going to help alleviate the issues of Menke Road intersection with the highway, but it will also give a lot better access to our existing industrial estate behind Mulder Scrub. It'll allow another access egress option as well. Being on the southern end of the industrial estate, closer to Atherton, will it'll alleviate traffic congestion elsewhere as well. Yeah, it is going to be a little bit of a costly exercise, but I think the outcomes that we'll achieve by doing this will outweigh those negatives. So I'll support the officer's recommendation.
Thanks, Councillor Cardew. Councillors, anyone else like to talk on this one? Those in favour of the officer's recommendation? Carried, thank you. Don't you start. Wow. Okay, councillors, we'll go one more. We'll go to item 11.4, the Local Disaster Management Group Recovery Chairperson. Can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Lang is moving. Seconder. Councillor Hayden. Councillor Lang.
I'm in agreement with this recommendation. By having the LDMG chair is a great idea, and then having councillors when there's something in there and divisions sit, I think that will be a benefit for everybody. Given my role as the interim chair and member and local controller, I'm more than happy to attend the meetings as an overseer.
Fantastic. Thanks, Councillor Lang. Anyone else? Councillor Hayden, would you like to talk to this?
No, I've read it and I'm happy with what the recommendations are.
Good, thank you. Councillors? Those in favour? Carried, thank you. Don't say it, Doris. Councillors, we'll go to one more. We'll go to 11.5, Capital Projects Monthly Report, August 2024. Can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Lang is moving. Seconder, Councillor Spanos. Councillor Lang.
No, I'm happy with that report.
Councillor Spanos, did you want to talk to that?
No, I'm happy with it as well, yeah.
Councillors? Final talk. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. trying to remember if there was much discussion about this one at pre-agenda.
I think those matters have been addressed. Yeah, but maybe not.
All right, look, councillors, it's pretty close to morning tea. I think what we'll adjourn the meeting now is so the garden people need to set up some stuff. So we'll adjourn for morning tea and we'll invite the garden competition people in. We'll do those awards and have morning tea with them. Thanks very much. We'll reconvene the council meeting, thanks. I believe we're up to item 11.6, advisory committee minutes. Can I have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty's moving. And a seconder, thanks. Second. Councillor Spanos. Councillor Barty?
Yes, I'd just like to ask with advisory committees, can all councillors be invited to advisory committees if that's possible?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, and councillors then can have the option whether they attend or not, but at least they know it's on.
They know it's on. Yeah, that would be.
Through the chair, I think that's already been implemented, Mayor, as well.
Okay.
When?
We discussed it about 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
But it hasn't been happening.
Well, it may not be across the board, but I do know some of them have been. Yeah.
Sounds good. Councillor Cardew?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I just want to move a bit of a not an alternative, but an amendment to the traffic advisory endorsement. As the chair of the traffic advisory committee, at the last meeting there were some actions voted on that require council to do certain things, and as we all know, the advisory committees are only advisory, they don't have power to enact anything. So I just want to bring that to the table so that they can be part of the recommendation to be enacted. And they should be up on the screen, Jackie. Yep, they're there.
So, councillor, we've got a mover of the officer's recommendation and a seconder. Councillor Cardew is proposing an amendment. So that amendment is the blue words. Is that right, Jim?
The addition of the actions.
Yeah, so that's an addition. So Councillor Barty and Councillor Spanos, you'd have to be willing to accept those amendments.
Oh, I wasn't clear on that, Kev, sorry.
These, out of the traffic advisory committee, these are actions that have been endorsed by the committee, but can't be approved until such time they're endorsed by council.
Okay.
Because the advisory committees don't have power to instruct officers to do anything.
Okay.
They can only have the power to vote on something, to say it's a good thing, and then it comes back through these minutes or council endorsement.
Okay.
It was omitted out of the report when it was done initially, and I picked up on about the pre-agenda.
Okay.
So to make everything kosher, we just need to include that in the officer's recommendation so that it's been endorsed by council.
Okay. Councillor Billin?
Through the chair, I think the traffic advisory committee is probably a little bit different from the other standard committees. Is that fair to say, Mark? Because I mean, you're made up of the police, TMR and TRC, and there's some things that you do make decisions on because that's what you're empowered to do. Is that fair to say?
So through the chair, that is partly the case, yeah. So I think there's probably recommendations that the advisory committee makes to council to resolve that will occur. The assessment that we made after the meeting, and it was very shortly before we had to finalise the agenda for the council meeting, we made a bit of an assessment. It was officers' belief that most, if not all, of these ones were things that we do on a daily basis on customer requests and things like that, as well as just a bit of line marking here, signage there. So I'm not concerned by taking it and recommending it to council, but on the other hand, I think it also falls within the normal operational delegations of officers to progress these things. And specifically where council has no, in my view and my understanding of the legislation, no actual authority to decide is where it involves setting traffic rules. So, for example, changing speed limits. That is not an authority that the council has. That is actually under the relevant state guidelines. That is a decision that is being made by the Speed Management Committee, which is made up of a council representative, a State Department representative, and the police, and they decide based on engineering advice on speed limits and other traffic rule changes, basically. So it's a bit of a mixed bag. So there might be recommendations that are things that council rightfully should resolve. There are also potentially some more operational things that fall within the realm of normal operational work that we're delegated and authorised to do. So that's why I initially omitted these things. However, happy for them to be added to the recommendations as well. It's not a here and there for me.
I think it's just a matter of openness and transparency and a good guideline for other committees. You know, we don't want to be in a situation where we're second guessing ourselves, oh, shouldn't have gone to council, shouldn't have. If there's an action that comes out of an advisory committee, then that action should be endorsed by council, because advisory committees don't have any power to do anything other than advise.
So Councillor Barty and Councillor Spanos were the original mover and seconder of the motion. We need to know if you're happy with Councillor Kaji's amendment.
Yeah, Mayor, I am. I'd just like to add to the where it says the application line marking installation of signage at the Cedar and Keogh Place intersection. I'd just like to make sure that those two car parks are retained on Keogh Place, and whether or not that can be added in here.
So through the chair, my understanding is that that the intent is to maintain those two.
It is, but on that diagram it shows that they're not. So I'd just like it here if there's no trouble in adding that at this stage.
Again, happy for that to be added, or for that to just operationally deal with.
Yeah, again, I'm just worried with that diagram showing that they're not there. So it would be, my preference would be for them to be added here, if that's okay, Jackie. Remind? Yeah. Is that
on Keogh Place?
Oh, yeah. Two existing car parks.
Councillor Barty and Councillor Spanos. Councillor Spanos, you happy with the amendment? Absolutely. Okay, final call, councillors. So we've got the amended motion there now, moved by Councillor Barty, seconded by Councillor Spanos. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. That brings us to item 12.2, the Aerodrome Business Plan. Councillors, I was going to propose that we propose an alternative motion here. Yeah, did you have some? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, that. My proposed alternative motion that item 12.2, the Aerodrome Business Plan, is deferred to a future meeting of council. Councillors, this, I'm not sure how many of you have had engagement with some of the users of the Atherton Aerodrome specifically, but yeah, there still seems to be a bit of stuff to work through, certainly from their side. I know council is pretty focused on trying to get this overarching plan so that officers have got purpose and have got confidence in what they're doing, but at the same time, some of the users feel like they need a bit more time to work through stuff. So I'm proposing that as the motion on item 12.2. If there's a seconder for that motion. Councillor Vardy seconding that. Would anyone else like to talk to that motion or to the plan itself? Thanks, Councillor Felcher.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, I've also fielded quite a few phone calls from the African Aerodrome users group, and they do have some serious concerns about the content of the plan. And until we can get those sorts of things sorted out, then I don't believe we should be adopting anything at this point in time. One of the main highlights for me that's come to light is that the need for more leased area out there for operators or people to store their planes in hangars and stuff. So one of the things that I'd like to see this council do in the very, very near future is to develop those other lease lots that have already been there. There has been some concept designs done for the layout of those lots. I don't know whether they're fully accepted by all the user groups out there, but I think it needs to be worked on. But we need to, whatever we do, we need to start planning for those lots so we can release them. And in doing that, we need to bring along all of the interested parties in that aerodrome user group to achieve a good outcome.
Councillors?
Yeah, I need some more information as well, guys. Yeah, I don't know a great deal about what goes on out there, so I think that would be paramount to making any decisions. I think we really do need an information session, or possibly even go out and visit, so that we understand the scope of what they're asking.
Can I just ask Shane, are there any major issues with council if we defer this out?
Through the chair.
Longer? No.
No, it's a plan to provide us officers direction with potential projects listed in the plan. With the feedback, we did write all 52 associated users and neighboring properties with 14 responses. We're still in the process of communicating back to all of them, so it just stands, and we continue to work through the feedback at this point. And then
very good, thank you. Final call, councillors. Those in favour of the motion that's on the screen? Carried, thank you. Uh, 12.3, TRC 2024-17 6x4 hook truck replacement. Have a mover of the officer's recommendation. Councillor Hayden, and a seconder. Councillor Cardew. Councillor Hayden.
No, I'm happy with the recommendation.
Councillors, those in favour? Carried, thank you. 12.4, TRC 2024-19 light rigid crew cabin replacement. We have a mover of the officer's recommendation. Spanos?
Check the tenders.
Just to check the tenders, overlook the potential conflict.
Islands, Denmark and Hoyne.
So what were they, Jackie? Sorry.
Just want to make sure. Non-local. I kept it. Yeah, there was, but I just thought I'd double check.
Do we have a mover and seconder on this one? Not yet. Yeah, councillor Cardew is moving. And councillor Vardy. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. Councillor Spence, did you vote?
Oh, sorry, yeah, I vote.
In favour, excuse me. Thank you. 7-0, Jackie, thank you. 12.5, TTRC 2024-23, gravel resheeting Northern. Do we have a mover and seconder? Councillor Cardew and Councillor Vardy. Councillor Cardew?
No, I'm happy, Mayor. It's the cheapest tender, it's the local tender. I'm good.
Those in favour? Carried, thank you. 7-0, Jackie. And 12.6, TTRC 2024-24, gravel resheeting Southern. Can we have a mover? Councillor Spanos and Councillor Hayden. Councillor Spanos, did you want to talk to that?
Not really, Mayor. I think that's a similar thing to what we just agreed to.
Thank you. Those in favour? Carried, thank you. .7, TTRC 2024-25, Webster Road Bridge Replacement. Can we have a mover? Councillor Vardy. And a seconder, Councillor Lang. Councillor Vardy?
Thanks, Mayor. David, I'm just wondering, the timber in that bridge, when it is deconstructed, is there any scope for that to be reused in a local project?
Structurally, probably not, as it's aesthetically potentially.
Yeah. How would that, how can I make that happen?
Would negotiate that with the contractor at the time, and make arrangements to of what's potentially reusable.
Just on that, in the tender documents, would that not the tender have to be responsible for the removal of all of that old stuff? So how can we, they might already have plans for it.
They may well have plans for it, but that's something that we can discuss with them.
Which would alter the tender price then?
In previous projects, contractors have disposed of those, the different components of a bridge or those materials. Some of the stuff's gone to local residents that have asked the contractor for that. Most of the time, contractors may not have a specific end use for in this case, the girders of the bridge. They may just give them to local residents if they come and ask for them. Or so, yeah, that'd be something that we can discuss with the contractor.
If they're already spoken for like that, that's fine.
Yeah, look, I don't think it's a matter for the decision we're making today.
Yeah,
but it can be something that can be explored through the general manager or at a later time, because sorry.
Just, I appreciate what you're saying, but it makes sense, but in this particular tender now, I think it's too late, because the tenders would have already tendered on construction and deconstruct and take away. But in future, if we're going to do this, it needs to be written up in the tender documents to say that we're going to retain the timber logs or timber whatever. It needs to be in the tender document at the time of tender. No good coming back later, because it could have an effect on the tender price. Because if they've already got on sales for it, it could affect our tender price that we're approving here.
Well, it's not coming from council, it's coming from a council.
But if we have
it's me.
yeah.
But yeah, if we can find out.
All right, so can we have, we've got a mover and seconder on 12.7, those in favour? Carried, thank you. 12.8, TTRC 2024 dash 28, Cavan Road, Station Creek, bridge replacement. We have a mover and seconder, Councillor Hayden and Councillor Bilney. Councillor Hayden,
No, I'm happy with this.
those in favour? Carried, thank you. 12.9, contract FNQ 029, regional removal and beneficial reuse of biocides. Do we have a mover? Councillor Lang and Councillor Bilney. Anything to talk to this one, Councillor Lang? Those in favour? Carried, thank you. 12.10, TTRC 2024-16, gatehouse operation for Atherton Transfer Station. Can we have a mover, please?
Mr. Mayor, can I ask the question, please?
We haven't opened the item yet. Can I have a mover for the item? Councillor Bilney, and a seconder? Councillor Lang? No. Councillor Cardew?
What I was going to ask, are we just moving the first point, or are we moving the whole recommendation? Because I think it's two separate things here. We need to be dealing with them separately, I would think.
I'll take some advice on that. Okay.
Through the chair there, there's three individual recommendations there. I think they're currently all moved, but I think council can still decide to either award 1, 2, or 3.
I support the second one, that's why I'm suggesting we talk about the first one, whether it's supported or not supported, and then we do the next one separately.
I think that's possible.
Yeah, well, we've got a mover and seconder on the officer's recommendation. Councillor Bilney or Councillor Lang like to talk to the recommendation?
No, look, it's we've got to have gatekeepers in particularly the second one in Mount Garnet, in at Hot Springs, beg your pardon. That's a requirement. We can't resource it with one person. Now we've got a weighbridge, my understanding is. So I don't know what alternative, Councillor Cardew, you may have, but have you got an alternative?
I don't have an alternative. I want to talk to item 2. I'm happy with item 1, but item 2 I don't agree with. So do we deal with it separately, or do we deal with it in the whole?
Well, you can just express your concerns about item 2.
Okay. We'll go there.
Yep.
Thank you. I know that the reason this was put up because we put in a weighbridge. Now, the weighbridge, to my understanding, is a requirement under legislation for us to operate the transfer station. We have to have this weighbridge in, and we put it in. Now it's come back that, oh, we put the weighbridge in, now we've got to have an operator to operate it. Now, given the fact that it's probably not going to be a high utilisation of that weighbridge in near Hot Springs, and then we're suggesting that we're going to have to pay in the order of, I don't know, $67,000 or thereabouts per year to have someone sit there at the weighbridge, wait for someone to come and use it, when we've already got a PRC operator there. That's just a total waste of money. So there's got to be a way that we can operate this transfer station without having to pay this amount of money for someone to sit at the weighbridge waiting for someone to come through. That's not going to happen very, very often. It's different to Atherton, where you get a lot of users down there, and you've got a gate that's controlled by a drop arm and the like. But I cannot see the need for a weighbridge operator in Hot Springs for this amount of money, when we can do something to utilise the people that we have there already.
So councillor Kaji, it's clearly an operational matter, and I'd take advice from our general manager.
So, through the chair, obviously, under the waste levy regulations, we had a requirement to, within 5 years of implementation of the levy, to have a weighbridge on that smaller landfill and transfer station site. And we met that requirement by having it installed last year. It is impossible for an operator to be in 2 places at the same time. So we have an active landfill where we need to do compaction. We need to manage our leachate. We need to operate and make sure that people that are on the transfer station site actually disposing of their waste are doing that in the correct way, and that we maintain that site in an appropriate manner. And we need to make sure that people that pass over the weighbridge are actually properly classified for their waste and potentially charged when there's a charge required. So you can't have that weighbridge temporarily unmanned while you're doing other activities, because somebody enters the site and just decides to drive into the site and dispose of their waste, which is not unlikely, because people do that generally not even on a waste disposal site. They do it anyway potentially. You would not be reporting the waste that comes into that site, and you would be in breach of legislation. So that's why when we actually established this contract, we foreshadowed that we may have a need for that. The other option is that we have an operator basically on the weighbridge when it's open to the public, and then keep the operator on the site to do the other activities that are required on the site after the site is closed for the public. In effect, that will still result in an additional cost to council. It will not be a contractor's cost, but a cost in staffing and wages, and which is probably going to be similar, if not higher.
Councillor Building?
Yeah, through the chair. Is it fair to say that anyone that goes over that weighbridge, they're going to incur costs? So we do have cost recovery on that?
At the moment, people, normal residents, pay the waste levy through their annual charge, yep. And we get reimbursed for that from the state. So the charges are predominantly for commercial or larger loads, so where they exceed a ute load or a cubic meter, or specific wastes like regulated waste and mattresses, tires, and the like. But all waste that enters the transfer station or landfill has to be measured and weighed. So it's not only about the paying, it's actually about measuring it and classifying what the waste is, because we have to then every year do a survey of both the transfer station and all stockpiles and the landfill. And if what we reported as incoming waste doesn't match what is actually surveyed on the site, we're in breach of legislation, we are liable for fines.
Councillor Kaji?
When they go to the Atherton landfill, can I go over the weighbridge to weigh my break or register my load? What do you mean all loads that go in have got to be registered over the weighbridge? We don't do that in Atherton, I don't believe.
I'm fairly sure you do. Well, every time I go to Atherton, I go over the weighbridge. But
you go over the weighbridge?
Yeah. No, we don't. No, you don't. No, I've always done.
I mean, I just cannot see us having to pay all this money for someone to sit there to take commercial loads over a weighbridge in Hot Springs. And the information we just got from our general manager was incorrect. You don't have to send all loads over that weighbridge, only commercial stuff. So how much commercial stuff is going to be taken to Hot Springs? I would think it would be minimal. And to have someone sit there for 24/7 while they're operating that transfer station is just a total waste of money. And if we can't do it operationally by some other means, and we need to look very hard at how we operate this thing, because there's no way I'm putting my hand up for this. And I know the operational side of it is up to our officers, but this is budget, so this is council, this is ours, this is in our room here. We have to allocate this amount of money to operate this thing, and I won't be supporting it.
just back to the general manager, Mark, is there still a need for the same human resources in Alcatraz, given what Councillor Cardew has said?
So, look, the statement that my advice is incorrect, I'll check that, because that's not my understanding of how the legislation and regulation works. So it could be that we're not doing what we should be doing on that side, and I will definitely check up on that and make sure that that we're doing the right things. So pending that outcome, I'm still of the belief that we need to amend the weighbridge, and we also need to amend some site, and the additional requirement is there, but if council wishes to decide differently, we'll manage it differently in compliance with legislation.
Yeah, well, the difficulty for us, Mark, is that we can't offer an alternative because we haven't got the information or knowledge. When is the deadline for this to be awarded?
It needs to commence on the 1st of November.
1st of November, yeah.
Defer it to a special meeting. Contract. We'll check those operational elements, but it would be of a concern to me if we were not manning the weighbridge and collecting the information that we require. We've already had two, in recent months, notices from the department about what waste we did have and didn't have.
Correct.
So we do need to get it right. We don't want to be saving money now by not awarding a contract and then paying it in fines. It's not an outcome that we want to get, a place that we want to get to either. So I'm not sure about the domestic waste requirements. I need to double check those, but and whether or not, in fact, as the general manager said, Atherton is being operated correctly. But I agree with Councillor Cardew, we're not asked to go. I've never been asked to go over the weighbridge in a domestic vehicle or my light vehicle. So it's something to clarify. That said, I can't see a situation where we cannot have it, where we can install a weighbridge and not man the weighbridge. That's just not an outcome that I can agree to.
Can I make a suggestion that we address item 1 and then address item 2, leave it on the table until we get the right information?
So I'll just hold that question, Councillor Cardew. Councillor Hayden.
So through the chair, as a person who goes to the Inhot Springs transfer station, the gate is locked. You cannot get up the back unless someone unlocks it anyway. So if it's open, it's got to be unlocked for you to travel through it. Otherwise you have to dump right there at the site where the bins are. So to me, I don't understand why the person in that donga that sits there all day can't go down and weigh that rubbish and unlock it for them to go up to the back and then come back and weigh them again. I just fail to see there's just not enough movements in stuff. And the only stuff we take up there is from Ravenside and Millamilla, and they do that at 5 o'clock in the morning when I watch them go through. So to me, I just don't understand why we need one of our workers can't. I mean, it's operational, but I just can't see how we can't do it better, maybe. In a different way.
So
it's not open for the public to go up there.
So councillors, following on Councillor Cardew's suggestion, could we consider passing the first contract for the Atherton transfer station, and perhaps have a special meeting for the second item? Are we happy to do that? So we've got Councillor Bilney and Councillor Lang as a mover and seconder. Would you be willing to amend it so that it just refers to item 1 and withholds item 2 to a special meeting? Three remains the same. So we've got the Atherton transfer station there as item 1. We've got the delegation to the CEO to execute that. And then do we need a separate motion for Alcatraz that it comes to a special meeting? Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. That item, part 2 is deferred to a special meeting.
Separate meeting or special meeting?
Special meeting.
Special meeting.
Isn't it? Does it need to be special? I mean, there's no contract there now. This is a new contract. This will be a new contract. Why do we have to go to a special meeting?
We need to have it in place by the 1st of November, so the next meeting's not until the 31st of October. Because of the LGAQ conference, so the contract would have to start the next day. It's not feasible to ask the contractor to have those resources in place overnight.
Would I make this part 3 of the resolution? Part 2 is deferred, or is it separate altogether?
Yeah, I think it can just be. I think it can just be number 3. Yeah. Maybe it's that the original part 2. The original part 2 is
I've got part 2 of the officer's recommendation.
Oh, okay, that's good. That clarifies it.
Is deferred to a special meeting.
Yeah, that clarifies it. Yeah.
Do we need to put maybe further information on this? Or just leave it at that?
Yeah, just leave it at that, Jackie. Yeah. Okay, so Councillor Bilney and Councillor Lanning, are you happy with the amendments there, that we're going to approve the Atherton transfer station with delegation of the CEO to execute that, and so Alcatraz, that'll come back to a special meeting of council in time for the 1st November. Okay, so councillors are happy with it. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Uh, 12.11, natural asset strategy public consultation. Do we have a mover and seconder? Councillor Barty and Councillor Bilney. Councillor Barty?
Yeah, I'm pleased to go out for public consultation, and I just want to thank Councillor Bilney for being head of the NAMAC in developing that, and Tudor and Christine for all your hard work. And it's good to see how much community input was on this, and thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Barty. Councillor Bilney?
No, look, I think it's the next step in the process. It's been informed by interested parties now. Let's test it out in the public.
Very good. Those in favour? Carried. Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Judy. Okay, councillors, that brings us to 13.1, financial report, August 2024. Have a mover and seconder. Councillor Lang and Councillor Spanos. Councillor Lang, did you have anything? Those in favour? Carried, thank you. 13.2, Lander Kindergarten lease renewal. We have a mover, councillor Bilney, and a seconder, councillor Barty. Councillor Bilney?
No, nothing for me, Mr Mayor.
Final call, councillors. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 13.3, Younger Borough Kindergarten lease renewal. A mover and seconder, councillor Barty and councillor Hayden. Councillor Barty?
Just that I accept the officer's recommendation and great to see this continue.
Those in favour, councillors? Carried. 13.4, policies for adoption and repeal. You have a mover and seconder.
Mr. Vic, can I ask if these are going to be done separately?
They'll just be done as one, I'd imagine. Is that right?
Proposing one, and the rest of is one. Or another that you don't want, that you want to consider separately, Mr Mayor, you can do that.
Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Barty's moving. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Spenos. Do you have a question, councillor Cardew?
Oh, yeah, I do. In the acceptable request guideline policy, it's proposed in this policy that all requests for advice and information from councillors to staff is that they staff acknowledge it within 2 business days, which is fair enough. But then it goes on to say here, and within 10 business days, get a response on minor issues, and 20 business days to get a response back on major issues or more difficult issues. I mean, personally, I don't want to wait 2 weeks after I've asked for some information, especially if it's in a minor nature. I do not want to wait 2 weeks. Legislation sets out that this is what's asked for under legislation, I believe. But we can make it a lot. This is our policy. We can make it a lot better than what legislation is, as long as we don't go worse than what legislation is. So I'm suggesting that we get a response back within 5 business days, and for minor matters, and 10 business days for more complex matters. That's the change I'd like to see in that one.
And there'd be resource implications for that if we're halving the time. I'm not sure how significant they'd be, but I imagine it would be pretty significant if you're cutting it in half. Councillors, any other views?
Can I get through the chair? Kev, I tend to find that the officers tend to come back to me fairly quickly with things. Are you having people coming back to you?
It's not a matter of, no, I'm not having trouble.
No.
But this is a policy. This is our policy.
I understand that.
And officers need clear-cut guidelines.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no reason they can't. If we don't get a response within 10 business days.
Yeah.
The office can say, well, we've got 10 days to respond to you.
Okay.
I'm not saying they will, but it's a possibility.
No, okay, fair enough.
These policies are intended to give clear, precise direction to staff. So let's give clear, precise direction and have it cut back to 5 and 10.
I mean, they're also supposed to be realistic, councillor Cardew.
I think a week.
You know, and if we're going to cut these timelines in half, well, we're going to need more resources. How do you cope? How do you cope with timelines that are cut in half if you haven't got more human resources?
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we need any further resources.
How do you know? How do you know?
Because we're talking about minor requests as opposed to a major request. So a minor request is exactly that, minor. And if it takes 2 weeks to reply to a minor request, then there's something wrong, because I've been in the situation where, and even with our CR, the quicker you can get back to people, the much happier people are. And I certainly won't be happy as a councillor if I've got to wait 2 weeks for a minor information request to be responded to.
So have you been waiting 2 weeks now? Minor
On
request?
occasions, yes. Yes, I have. On more than one occasion, actually. And on some of those occasions, it's just been as simple as a phone call, waiting for a phone call to come back. So these things need to be clear in policy direction for our staff.
They are clear, but you're just saying they need to be
They need to be
shorter.
shortened up, yeah. I'm not saying that young people, they need to be shortened up, so, like I said, personally, I do not want to wait 2 weeks for a simple reply to an information request.
Councillor Hayden?
So it doesn't necessarily say we have to wait for 10 days, it's, 2 weeks, sorry, it's up to 2 weeks, and sometimes the information is passed through the organisation to make sure it's correct. So to me, I've got an answer sometimes in 2 days and sometimes 10 days. So to me, I suppose it's probably the depth of the question we're going to be asking, really. I don't know.
Councillors, any more questions or comment on this one? Okay, we've got a mover and a seconder for the officer's recommendation. Councillor Cardew has a different view, but we'll test this one first. Those in favour of the officer's recommendation?
For this particular policy or the whole lot?
For the whole lot.
Oh, point of order, Mr. Mayor. And I've got other questions about these other policies as well.
Okay.
Right. And I'll move an alternate motion to have those timelines reduced to 5 and 10. Yeah. In the acceptable request guideline policy. I'd like to test the water of that policy.
Yeah, we've got a mover and a seconder of the officer's recommendation. So I think what we'll do, Councillor Cardew, is we'll go through your other ones you want to bring up.
The next one is the councillor contact with lobbyists, consultants, developers and submitters policy. This is a new policy, I believe. Yeah. So I don't see the need that why we need this policy. We're already controlled through legislation about our contact with lobbyists or developers or the like. It's already there. Why have we got to reproduce it again? Why are we double dipping when it's clear cut what we can and can't do under legislation and also in the council's code of conduct? Why are we doubling up?
There you go.
Provide some clarity about how it's implemented, how those legislative requirements are implemented. Councillor Cardew.
I could provide perhaps some more. So there's two aspects. One is the fact that the new policy was identified as part of the recommendation to repeal the councillor interaction with the organisation policy. So we're taking one away and putting one in. The other thing is that the legislation, particularly around lobbyists, is very vague, and it doesn't actually, it's not actually useful or informative to a councillor who might be looking to understand what their obligations are. So the intent of the policy is just really to support councillors to be clear about what they can and can't do under the legislation.
Can I ask the general manager to give us examples of where councillors have gone outside this and have been prosecuted or the like? How many times that's happened?
Through the chair, I don't know, you suggested that was the case, so.
Why do we need an additional policy to what legislation already provides?
so that we don't end up in a situation where you are being prosecuted, Councillor.
So I won't be supporting that one either. There's the two comments I had for the policy use.
Okay, so I think sorry, Councillor Barty?
I just had one question in relation to the acceptable request policy. Page 471, appendix 1, it lists like all the positions and that we can interact with. I have no idea who is in a lot of those positions, so I was wondering if there is like a separate spreadsheet or something that lists.
So through the chair, if I can respond, that position, we include positions in the policy because the policy is adopted and the occupants of the position might change. So we will keep councillors informed of who is occupying those positions.
Is there currently a document that has a list of who's employed in those positions?
We'll take that on notice, but certainly if there is, we can prepare.
Yeah.
I think I would be doing Well, and you don't know in a lot of cases.
Councillor Carter?
Just for clarity, Mr Mayor, I did raise a point of order before and put up an alternative motion for the acceptable request guidelines policy. Under our standing orders, shouldn't that be addressed first?
Seeking, it's an amendment to the motion, Mr Mayor.
It's an amendment.
We're proposing an amendment to the motion. Proposing to amend the motion, because the motion's been moved and seconded. The motion is not, in my view, inconsistent. The proposed motion is not inconsistent with the motion. It seeks to build on it, so it can be accepted as an amendment, in my view.
So Councillor Cardew is seeking an amendment to
Acceptable request guidelines policy to reduce the response times from 10 days to 5 days and 20 days to 10 days respectively for the use of word simple, not short. Is it simple request? Minor request?
Complex?
20 days to 10 days for complex requests, 10 days to 5 days for minor requests. Second for the amendment.
So Councillor Cardew's got an amendment there to the original motion, reducing those timelines. We need a seconder for that amendment. Councillor Spanos is seconding it.
And this one?
And the second one, Councillor Cardew, did you have an amendment for that?
We deal with, no.
The lobbyist one?
But deal with this one first, don't we?
Well, I think we need to try them both because they're all part of the one.
What if you want to approve one and not the other?
I'll take some advice on this because we've got a whole bunch of policies there that we're not touching. So what's the best way to deal with this, CEO? Because if we adopt that there now, it includes the lobbyists, consultants and developers.
Just remove the lobbyists, consultants and developers
from the list.
Yeah. Deal with that separately.
Okay, so we've got an amended motion moved by Councillor Cardew and Councillor Spanos relating to the timelines on the acceptable request guidelines, and we've removed from this list, we've removed the councillor contact with lobbyists, consultants, developers and submitters. Everyone understand that? Yeah.
A separate motion when this motion's been dealt with.
Yeah. So, will those in favour of the motion that's on the screen? That's carried. So, yeah, let's have 4-3, Jackie.
What's the third one? Dominic, did you vote against it?
Correct. And now, councillor Cardew, did you have an alternative
Yeah,
motion for this, for the lobbyists?
yeah, I want to move that we strike this from the report and not support the development of this new policy. Because it's already, the matter's already covered under legislation.
Yeah,
If you
we
want
don't
that
need a motion not to adopt something. If no one moves it be adopted, then it just disappears, lapses, if you like. But we don't have motions not to adopt something.
So we just don't need to take that on.
If someone wants to move that it do be adopted, and it's still my strong recommendation that it do be adopted, then, but if no one wants to move that, then it just lapses.
I'll move it.
But we already have moved it for not to adopt. It's waiting for a second.
Can't really move not to, can't move not to adopt something, councillor, it's just, it's not a resolution, it's just like illogical.
Protection.
So councillor Barty's moving that this policy also be adopted by council. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Lands seconding.
If I could just add a couple of words in. It is an area that does get local governments and local government councillors into bother with agencies up to and including the CCC. So not here necessarily, but having some additional guidance around how we go about managing those relationships is strongly recommended.
Okay, everyone. So we've got it moved by councillor Barty, seconded by councillor Lang. Those in favour? Okay. 6-1. I'm checking. Okay, that brings us to business without notice. No. So that brings us to our confidential section, item 16. And I have a mover that we go into confidential, please. Councillor Lang is moving, and a seconder. Councillor Cardew. Seconding. Those in favour?
Oh, I'm fine.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry. Yeah, those in favour? Thank you. Okay, councillors, item 16.1. Tenure negotiations associated with reserve held by council within lot 14, A 31949, Silo Road, Atherton. Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Lang, and seconder, Councillor Spanos. Those in favour? Carried. Thank you. 16.2, Sunwater Wet Dry Concession deed. Do we have a mover of the officer's recommendation? Councillor Cardew's moving and Councillor Barty seconding. Those in favour? Carried. Thanks very much, councillors, officers. Our next meeting of council will be the 31st of October. Meeting closed.